It was a cold night on the distant planet Valara, where silver rain fell like glass from the sky. The small alien town glowed faintly in blue light, and most people stayed inside their warm homes. But one traveler, a human named Eli Grant, walked alone on the empty street, his long coat wet and heavy. Eli wasn't from this world. He had arrived 3 days ago, sent by the Human Alliance to study alien technology. He wasn't supposed to talk to locals. He wasn't supposed to get involved. But fate, as always, had other plans. When he stopped near an old market, he reached into his pocket and froze. His wallet was gone. Inside that wallet was not only his money, but also his ID chip, the one thing that proved he was human and gave him access to his ship. Without it, he was stuck here. He searched the ground, checked his bag, even ran back along the street, nothing. The rain got heavier, washing the neon lights into long, shimmering lines. Then from the shadows of an alley, a small voice said, "Excuse me, are you looking for this?" Eli turned. A tiny figure stood there, no taller than his chest. She had pale green skin, big golden eyes, and a small metal pendant that blinked softly. In her hand, she held his wallet. Eli took a cautious step forward. "Where did you get that?" The girl didn't move. She looked scared, yet curious. "It fell near the old fountain," she said in a trembling voice. "I didn't steal it, I just found it." He studied her carefully. She looked young, maybe 10 years old in human terms. Her clothes were torn and her feet were bare. "Thank you," Eli said gently, taking the wallet. "You saved me some trouble." The girl smiled faintly, but her eyes were sad. Then she asked something that made his breath stop. "Are you a human?" Eli's heart skipped. "Why do you ask?" The girl stepped closer. "Because my mother told me stories about humans. She said, humans can fix things no one else can, that they are not afraid of the dark." Eli blinked, confused. "Your mother told you that?" She nodded. Her voice lowered to a whisper. "She's very sick." And she said, "Only a human can help her now." Eli felt a chill that wasn't from the rain. This was not what he expected. "I'm sorry, kid," he said softly. "I'm not a doctor," but the girl shook her head. "It's not her body that's broken. It's something else. Something inside her mind." Lightning flashed above the metal rooftops, followed by distant thunder. Eli looked around. The streets were still empty, silent. The girl's words echoed in his head, and something inside her mind. "What do you mean?" he asked. The girl hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if someone might be watching. Then she whispered, "She has human memories." Eli froze. "That's impossible." The girl took his hand suddenly, her tiny fingers cold. "Please," she said, eyes wide and desperate. "You have to come with me." "Before they find out, who?" Eli asked. She looked up at the dark sky. "The Watchers." A loud mechanical sound echoed from somewhere above, the deep hum of a drone scanning the streets. The girl panicked and pulled him toward the alley. "Come on! Hurry!" Eli followed her, his instincts screaming danger. The alley twisted through broken buildings and pipes dripping green light. He could hear the drone moving closer, the rain hitting the metal walls like drums. They stopped behind an old generator. The girl pressed her hand against a glowing panel and a small door opened in the wall. A secret passage. "Go," she said urgently. "It's safe inside." Eli hesitated. He didn't know this child. He didn't know what trap he might be walking into. But the fear in her eyes was real. He nodded and stepped inside. The passage led down a narrow tunnel, lit by flickering blue lights. The sound of the rain faded behind them. At the end of the tunnel, Eli saw a small room filled with old tech, screens, wires, and strange alien devices. On a bed made of fabric and metal parts lay a woman, the girl's mother. Her eyes were closed and her body glowed faintly with pale energy. The little girl whispered, "Please, Mr. Human, save her." Eli stared at the glowing woman, his heart pounding. There was something human about her face and the curve of her jaw, the faint freckles, the shape of her lips. It was as if she had once been human, and in that moment Eli knew his life on Valara had just changed forever. The small room flickered with pale blue light. Broken machines surrounded the bed, their wires humming softly like whispering ghosts. The alien girl stood beside her mother, her tiny hands shaking. Eli Grant couldn't move. The woman lying before him looked part alien, part human. Her face soft and pale, but her skin shimmered faintly with scales that reflected the light. Tubes ran from her arms into strange glass orbs filled with glowing fluid. The little girl spoke first. Her name is Mira. She started to change 2 years ago. The doctors said she was sick. But she said she was remembering something. Eli stepped closer, his voice low. Remembering what? The girl looked up at him. A place called Earth. The words hit Eli like a shockwave. He stared at her. Earth? How would she know that name? The girl shook her head slowly. She speaks in her sleep sometimes. She says human words, words I don't understand. She calls out to someone named Ben and says she's sorry. Eli's pulse quickened. He leaned closer to Mira's face. Beneath the alien shimmer, he saw something disturbingly familiar. A scar above her eyebrow, just like one he'd once seen on a woman in an old photograph from a colony lab. He whispered, Mira, can you hear me? Her eyelids twitched. A faint sound came from her lips, a whisper so small he almost missed it. Home. Eli froze. Home? Do you mean Earth? But before he could say more, the lights flickered violently. The girl gasped and ran to the corner, pressing a button on the wall. The screen came to life, showing a red blinking symbol, a watcher drone scanning nearby streets. They're searching for humans, the girl said quickly. They think you brought something dangerous from the stars. Eli frowned. They're not wrong, he muttered. Then softer. Why are they after me? The girl turned, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Not just you, anyone who knows about her. She pointed at her mother. They say she carries something forbidden, something made by humans long ago. Eli knelt beside the bed, checking the strange machinery. He recognized the design, human tech, hidden inside alien devices. Someone had merged two kinds of science here. Someone wanted to keep it secret. He glanced at the girl. What's your name? She hesitated. Lyra, he repeated gently. You said your mother told you humans could fix things no one else can. What did she mean? Lyra looked at her mother, then back at Eli. Before she got sick, she said there's a machine inside her mind. It helps her remember things, but now it's breaking. If it stops, she'll die. Eli stared at her in disbelief. A machine inside her mind? Lyra nodded. She said humans built it. A memory engine. Eli's thoughts raced. The Memory Engine Project. An old experiment banned decades ago. It was supposed to help soldiers store knowledge directly in their brains. But it failed. The test subjects vanished. He swallowed hard. If that's true, your mother might not be from Valara at all. She might be human, Lyra whispered. Before he could answer, a loud crash shook the room. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra screamed. Eli jumped up, pulling her close. What was that? They found us! Lyra cried. A deep metallic voice echoed from above. Unauthorized human presence detected. Hand over the subject. The watchers had arrived. Eli looked around frantically for a weapon. His laser pistol was out of charge. He spotted a metal rod, grabbed it, and pulled Lyra behind a heavy machine. The walls trembled as the ceiling hatch opened. A drone descended, glowing red, scanning the room. Mira's body began to glow brighter, reacting to the energy. Lyra covered her ears. They'll take her away. They said she's not supposed to exist. Eli shouted over the noise. Listen to me, Lyra. There's a tunnel under that panel. Go! But what about you? I'll find you. Now go. She hesitated, tears in her eyes, then crawled into the tunnel. Eli turned toward the drone. You want her? You'll have to go through me. The drone fired a blinding light beam. Eli dove aside, the heat burning his sleeve. He swung the metal rod, striking the drone's scanner lens. Sparks exploded. The machine screeched and spun out of control, crashing into the wall. Eli rushed to the bed. Mira's glow was fading, her breath shallow. He pressed his hand on her chest, feeling a faint rhythm. Then something cold slipped into his palm. He looked down. It was a small metallic chip, glowing faintly. Etched on it were human letters. Project Eden, Subject 07. He stared in disbelief. Project Eden? That can't be. Before he could think further, another explosion rocked the tunnel. Lyra's scream echoed from below. Eli tightened his grip on the chip, his mind racing. He had just walked into something much bigger. Something that could change the truth about humans and aliens forever. And somewhere deep inside Mira's fading mind, A new memory began to awaken. The tunnel was dark and narrow. The air smelled of dust and burning metal. Lyra crawled as fast as she could, her small hands trembling. Behind her, the walls shook with explosions. She could still hear Eli shouting, fighting the machines. When she finally reached the end of the tunnel, she pushed open a rusty door and fell onto the cold ground. The rain had stopped, but the sky above Valara was red with storm clouds. She looked back at the tunnel. "Please be okay," she whispered. Moments later, a faint light flickered behind her. Eli stumbled out of the passage, coughing, his clothes torn and face smeared with dust. Lyra ran to him. "You made it." Eli nodded, breathing heavily. "Barely. Those drones won't stop until they find us." He looked around. They were in the outskirts of the alien city, near a wide crater filled with glowing fog. "Where are we?" "This is the old mining zone," Lyra said. "No one comes here anymore. It's safe, for now." Eli sat on a broken rock and opened his hand. The metallic chip he'd taken from Mira's chest still glowed faintly. "Lyra," he said slowly, "your mother. She's not just sick. She's part of something called Project Eden." Lyra frowned. "What is that?" Eli looked at the chip again, his mind racing. A long time ago, humans tried to build a perfect memory system, something that could save everything a person saw, felt, or thought. They called it the Eden engine. But the tests failed. The subjects disappeared. Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean my mother was one of them?" He hesitated. "Maybe. If she had this chip inside her, it means she was human once. But someone must have rebuilt her, changed her body to survive here on Valara." Lyra's voice shook. "So she's human and alien?" "Yes," Eli said softly. "And that's why the Watchers want her. She's living proof that humans and aliens share something powerful, something they fear." Lyra hugged her knees, staring into the foggy crater. "She used to tell me dreams about a blue planet. She said she could feel the wind, the oceans. But she never knew why." Eli nodded slowly. "Those weren't dreams, Lyra, those were memories. Human memories." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind whistled through the broken towers around them. Then Eli looked up. "We have to go back for her." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "But she's gone. The Watchers will take her to the core facility. No one ever comes back from there." Eli stood up, determination hardening his face. "Then we'll do what humans always do. We try." Lyra looked at him, hope flickering in her golden eyes. "But why would you help us? She's not even human anymore." Eli smiled faintly. "Because once humans made her this way, and maybe it's time we fix what we broke." He pulled out his wrist device and connected the chip. A holographic image appeared. A rotating 3D model of a woman's brain with glowing symbols. Lines of code scrolled around it, half human, half alien. "Look at this," he said. "The memory core is shutting down. But there's a failsafe." Lyra leaned closer. "What's that?" "It says Eden Gate, reconnect to source." She frowned. "Source?" Eli pointed toward the glowing crater. "I think it's down there." Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "No, that place eats machines. The ground melts anything that goes near it." Eli checked his wrist screen again. "That's why it's hidden. That's where your mother's human memories are stored. If we reach it, maybe we can bring her back." Before Lyra could reply, a mechanical screech echoed from above. Several drones flew past the crater, their red lights scanning the ground. "They're still searching," Eli muttered. "We don't have much time." He took Lyra's hand. "Do you trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, together they climbed down into the crater. The air shimmered with heat. The ground glowed faintly like liquid glass. Every step made a soft cracking sound. At the center, they saw a strange structure, a half-buried metallic sphere with human writing etched across it. "Eden Core, authorized access only." Eli's breath caught. "It's real." He approached the sphere and placed his hand on it. The surface reacted, glowing brighter. A deep voice echoed from within. "Human genetic pattern detected. Identity, Eli Grant. Access, partially granted." Lyra gasped as part of the sphere opened, revealing a staircase leading down. "Stay close," Eli said, his voice trembling with both fear and wonder. They descended into a massive underground chamber filled with glowing pillars. In the center was a stasis pod, and inside it floated an image of Mira, peaceful and alive, her human face clear and beautiful. Lyra whispered, "Mom." Eli stared, heart pounding. This is her memory backup. The real Mira. But before they could step closer, alarms blared. The red lights returned, and the voice of the watchers filled the chamber. Unauthorized access. Human experiment breach detected. Eli turned to Lyra. They found us. She looked at her mother's image, then at him. What do we do? He took a deep breath. We finish what she started. The floor trembled as mechanical arms unfolded from the walls, targeting them. Eli grabbed the glowing chip from his wrist and pressed it into the console. The chamber roared to life, lights flashing, air shaking. Mira's eyes opened inside the pod, glowing with human warmth and alien fire. Lyra screamed with joy. Mom! Mira's voice echoed, soft and broken. Lyra, Eli, you must run. They will destroy everything. Eli looked up at her. No, we're not leaving you this time. And as the machines closed in, Mira's pod began to open, releasing a blinding wave of light that would change Valara forever. The chamber filled with a blinding white light that made the air vibrate. Eli covered his eyes, but Lyra stood frozen, her small hands reaching toward the glowing pod. When the light faded, the room went silent, completely silent. The hum of machines stopped. Even the watcher drones hovering above flickered, their red lights dying out. Inside the pod, Mira slowly opened her eyes. For the first time, they were clear. Not glowing blue like before, but soft brown. Human eyes filled with warmth and confusion. Mom, Lyra whispered, tears running down her cheeks. Mira looked at her daughter and smiled weakly. Lyra, her voice trembled like a melody long forgotten. You've grown. Lyra ran forward, hugging her mother as the pod doors opened. Eli stood still, amazed and terrified at the same time. Mira's body shimmered, half human, half alien. Her skin shifted color between silver and pale. A faint light pulsed beneath her skin, following her heartbeat. Eli finally spoke. Mira, do you remember me? She turned her head slowly. Her eyes met his, and for a second he saw recognition and fear. I remember something, she whispered. Your name. Eli Grant. The project, the ship that crashed. Eli's chest tightened. You were part of Project Eden. You were one of the researchers. Mira nodded weakly. We tried to build a bridge between species. We wanted to share memory across minds, human and alien both. But something went wrong. The core overloaded. I was caught in the blast. Lyra looked confused. You said you were born here, Mom. You told me. Mira smiled sadly. I woke up on Valara, broken and alone. They found me near the ocean and healed me. But I wasn't the same. I had human thoughts and Velaran blood. Somehow both worlds lived inside me. Eli felt a chill. You became the first hybrid. She nodded slowly. And the Watchers knew what I was. They called me a threat. So they erased my past. But they couldn't erase my memories completely. That's when I met your father, Lyra. He was one of them, a Velaran engineer. He believed I wasn't a monster. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. And when he died, Mira touched her cheek gently. I promised to keep you safe. But my human memories were fading, breaking apart. That's when I began searching for another human. Someone who could finish what I started. Eli exhaled slowly. And that's when your daughter found me. Before Mira could answer, the chamber shook violently. Red warning lights returned. The Watcher's voice echoed, cold and merciless. Containment breach confirmed. Initiate termination protocol. Mira's expression hardened. They're coming. She stepped out of the pod. Her body glowed brighter, circuits of light spreading across her arms. They will destroy this place to keep the truth hidden. Eli grabbed her arm. Then we destroy the truth their way, Wang, but we keep yours alive. Mira looked at him, a mix of sorrow and determination in her eyes. Eli, if the Eden core is destroyed, all the memories of human contact with Valara will vanish. Forever. Lyra held her mother's hand tightly. Then we can't let that happen. Eli glanced at the console. There must be a data port, something to extract the memories. There is, Mira said softly. But it's connected to me. If you take the data, Her voice broke. I won't survive. Lyra's face went pale. No, there has to be another way. Mira knelt down and cupped Lyra's face. My sweet child, you are the other way. You are both human and Velaran. You carry both hearts. If you survive, my dream survives too. Tears streamed down Lyra's cheeks. I can't lose you again. Mira smiled through her tears. You won't. You'll carry me. In your memories. The Watcher's drones broke through the ceiling, red lights blazing. Eli stood in front of Mira and Lyra, ready to fight. "Tell me what to do," he shouted. "Plug the chip into the main core," Mira said quickly. "It will download everything I am. My human memories, my voice, everything into the data network. It will spread across the planet." Eli ran to the console, his hands shaking. "What happens after that?" Mira looked up, her eyes glowing with light. "Then Valara will remember humanity." The ground split open as fire poured from the walls. The drones fired beams striking the pod. Eli slammed the chip into the console. The system screamed with energy. Mira reached out, holding Lyra's face one last time. "Never forget who you are," Lyra sobbed. "Mom, please!" A surge of blinding light erupted from Mira's body, flowing into the machines, the walls, the air. Into everything. The Watchers froze mid-air, their red lights turning white. Then came silence. When the light faded, Mira was gone. Only her pendant lay on the floor, still glowing softly. Lyra picked it up, tears falling onto her hands. "She's gone." Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, Lyra, she's everywhere now. Outside." The storm clouds broke, revealing a sky filled with light. And somewhere in the wind, a gentle voice whispered in both human and alien tongues, "The bridge is open." The storm had ended, but the world felt different. The sky above Valara glowed with soft golden light, as if the planet itself had awakened. Every screen, every machine in the city flickered with the same strange symbol, a circle crossed by a single line. The mark of Project Eden. Eli and Lyra stood at the crater's edge, the cold wind brushing against their faces. The Eden core behind them was silent now, half buried in smoke and ash. "She's gone," Lyra whispered again. Her small voice broke the silence. Eli looked at the pendant glowing in her hand. "No, Lyra," he said softly. "She's part of Valara now. The memory network. She uploaded herself into it." Lyra looked up at him, eyes shining with tears. "But how will I hear her?" He smiled faintly. "Listen to the stars." Lyra frowned in confusion, but before she could ask what he meant, the pendant pulsed with light. She gasped as a soft voice echoed in her mind, her mother's voice. "Lyra, don't be afraid." Lyra's eyes widened. "Mom?" Eli froze. "You can hear her?" Lyra nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "She's speaking inside my head. She says, 'The bridge is open.'" Eli's heartbeat quickened. "The bridge?" The ground rumbled beneath them. Far away in the distance, towers of blue light rose into the sky, one after another like beacons awakening from a long sleep. Lyra clutched the pendant tighter. "She says those are memory towers in the places where human data was hidden long ago." Eli's breath caught. "Wait, you mean humans were here before?" Lyra nodded. "She says humans built them. Thousands of years ago, Valara wasn't just a random planet. It was part of the first human expansion. The Watchers erased the truth." Eli took a step back, overwhelmed. "That means—" Lyra looked at him with awe. "That means humans didn't find Valara. They came home to it." The realization hit him like thunder. For centuries, humans had believed Valara was just another alien world. But now it was clear. This place had human origins. The Watchers had hidden it to keep control. Before Eli could speak, a sudden flash lit up the sky. A massive ship descended from the clouds, black, triangular, with hundreds of red eyes blinking across its hull. The symbol of the Watchers burned on its side. Lyra grabbed Eli's arm. "They're coming again!" Eli pulled her behind a rock. "They must have detected the energy surge from the core. They'll search for us." The ship's voice echoed through the air, deep and metallic. "Unauthorized transmission detected. Human influence spreading. Terminate anomaly." Eli clenched his fists. "They're calling her an anomaly." Lyra looked at him, fear mixing with determination. "Mom said I have something inside me, something that can stop them." Eli turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Lyra looked at her hands. They were glowing faintly, just like Mira's had before. "I can feel her energy. It's in me now." "She said the bridge isn't just a machine, it's alive, and it listens to me." Eli stared, stunned. "You mean you can control the core?" Lyra nodded hesitantly. "I think so. But I don't know how," Eli thought quickly. "Then we need to reach one of those towers. If you connect there, maybe we can stop the Watchers from wiping her memory from the network." Lyra's face hardened with determination. "Let's go." They began moving through the ruins toward the nearest memory tower. The air buzzed with energy, and every time Lyra touched a piece of metal, it lit up faintly under her fingers. Your mother must have linked her code with your DNA, Eli said, amazed. You're part of the Eden network now. Lyra looked down. Does that make me human? Or alien? Eli smiled softly. It makes you both, and that's what they're afraid of. As they reached the base of the nearest tower, the ground shook again. Drones poured from the sky, surrounding them. Their voices merged into one. Surrender the hybrid. Humanity must not return. Lyra's pendant glowed brighter. The drones fired beams of red light, but the beams bent around her, missing completely. Her eyes turned silver white as she lifted her hands. The machines froze mid-air, their circuits flickering. One by one, they dropped to the ground, lifeless. Eli watched in awe. You stopped them. Lyra looked terrified of her own power. I didn't mean to. I just wanted them to stop hurting us. He stepped forward, calming her. It's okay. You're in control now. You're stronger than they are. But as he spoke, the giant watcher ship fired a pulse into the sky. The memory towers dimmed. The golden lights began to fade. Lyra screamed in pain, clutching her head. They're shutting her down. They're erasing her. Eli grabbed her shoulders. Fight it, Lyra. Don't let them take her from you. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I can't. It's too strong. He shouted, Remember what your mother said, the bridge is open. Use it. Lyra fell to her knees, the pendant glowing like a star. The ground trembled as lines of light spread outward from her hands, connecting to the towers around the planet. For a moment, everything froze. Then a massive wave of blue energy burst outward, shooting into space. The watcher ship's engines failed. Its red eyes turned white, then flickered out. The ship drifted helplessly into the clouds. Eli looked around in disbelief. You did it. Lyra collapsed, weak but smiling. She's safe now. The memories. They're everywhere. No one can erase them again. Eli knelt beside her. You just saved 2 worlds. She looked up at the glowing horizon.
No, I just made them remember they were one. Above them.
The stars flickered, and for the first time in centuries, Valara whispered in both human and alien voices, We are not so different. The morning came quietly. For the first time in Valara's history, there was no sound of drones, no red lights in the sky. The world seemed to hold its breath. The storm had ended, and sunlight spilled through the clouds like gold. Eli sat beside Lyra, who was still unconscious on the ground. Her body glowed faintly, the same silver hue that once flowed through Mira's veins. He had stayed awake all night guarding her, waiting for her to wake up. When she finally opened her eyes, they were different. Not gold anymore, but a mix of human brown and Velaran silver. Eli smiled with relief. Hey there, kid. You scared me. Lyra sat up slowly, confused. What happened? You stopped them, Eli said softly. The Watchers. Their ship crashed somewhere beyond the mountains. You freed Valara. Lyra blinked, remembering flashes of light, Mira's voice, and the warmth that had filled her chest. I saw her, she whispered. Mom, she was standing in the light. She said, The bridge is open, but not finished yet. Eli frowned. Not finished? What does that mean? Lyra looked around. The towers still glowed faintly, but the energy was unstable. Sparks of light danced in the air like falling stars. She said something's missing. The bridge connects the minds, but not the hearts. The humans have to know too, not just Valara. Eli's stomach tightened. You mean Earth? Lyra nodded. She said the humans forgot. They think they're alone in the galaxy. But Valara remembers them now. We have to make them remember us. Eli stood pacing. That's not easy. The Human Alliance banned all contact with unregistered species. If we show up, they'll think we're invaders. Lyra's small voice was calm. Then we'll show them the truth. That we're family. Eli stopped and stared at her. She looked so young, yet the light in her eyes carried something ancient, something both human and alien. Before he could answer, the ground trembled again. A deep rumble echoed across the valley. Lyra turned her head sharply. They're not all gone, she whispered. A massive shape moved through the fog, a surviving Watcher sentinel. Towering above the ruins, its single red eye burning with hatred. Eli cursed under his breath. How did that thing survive? The sentinel's voice boomed through the valley. Hybrid detected. Termination incomplete. Commencing Protocol 0. Eli grabbed Lyra's hand. Run! They sprinted through the broken rocks as the machine fired plasma beams, scorching the ground behind them. The air shook with explosions. Lyra stumbled, falling to her knees. Eli turned to shield her, but the sentinel was already charging another blast. Then suddenly the pendant around Lyra's neck flared with light. The ground beneath her cracked open, and from within, the soil rose metallic roots, glowing blue like veins of energy. They wrapped around the sentinel's legs, pulling it down. The machine screamed, trying to break free, but the energy spread faster, climbing up its body, turning its armor to glass. Within seconds, it froze completely, silent and lifeless. Eli helped Lyra to her feet, stunned. You did that? Lyra looked down at her hands, glowing faintly. No, Valara did. It listened to me. Eli looked around as the metallic roots sank back into the earth, leaving no trace. It's protecting you now, Lyra nodded quietly. Because I'm part of it. They walked in silence for a while, the city's ruins shining in the distance. When they reached a high ridge, they could see the horizon, the towers standing tall, forming a circle of light. Eli turned to her. You said we have to reach Earth. How? Lyra looked up at the sky. Mom said there's a signal transmitter under the ocean, an old human beacon. It can reach Earth's deep space networks. Eli's eyes widened. The Elysium beacon. It's a myth. Lyra smiled faintly. So was I. Eli chuckled softly, shaking his head. Fair point, he looked serious again. If we activate that beacon, Earth will come here. But if the wrong people hear it first, they'll destroy Valara, Lyra finished. That's why we must send the message the right way. Not as a warning, but as a promise. Eli smiled. You sound like your mother. Lyra looked at the pendant. She's still guiding me. She says the bridge must have two sides. Humans need to remember their compassion. Valarans need to remember their courage. He looked at her with pride. Then we finish what she started. As they began walking toward the coast, the sky changed again. The stars flickered brighter, forming strange patterns. One looked like the shape of a human hand reaching out to touch another, alien and delicate. Lyra smiled softly. She's drawing the way. Eli stared up. Maybe she's waiting for us. Far behind them, the last Watcher drone watched silently from the shadows, recording everything. Its red light blinked once and then turned blue, as if the machine itself had begun to understand. The dawn of a new era had begun, one that neither humans nor Valarans could ever undo. The sea stretched endlessly before them, silver waves glowing under Valara's twin moons. The world was quiet again, but Eli knew it was only the calm before the next storm. Somewhere deep beneath that glowing ocean waited the Elysium beacon, the ancient transmitter that once linked Valara and Earth. Lyra stood beside him at the cliff's edge, the wind pulling at her hair. Her pendant glowed softly against her chest, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Eli checked the old scanner on his wrist. It's down there, he said. About 5 kilometers below the surface. The signal's weak, but it's alive, Lyra nodded. Mom said it's more than a machine. It's the first voice that spoke between worlds. Eli looked at her carefully. If we turn it on, Earth will hear us. They'll come. Lyra's eyes reflected the moonlight. That's what she wanted. He hesitated. Are you sure this is what you want? Lyra smiled faintly. She built the bridge. I'll walk it. They descended the cliff and reached the shore. The ocean shimmered like liquid glass. Lyra knelt down, pressing her glowing hands into the sand. The ground responded, opening into a spiral of blue light that led straight into the depths. Eli's eyes widened. You just opened a path through solid rock. Lyra looked back at him. It's not rock. It's memory. He took a deep breath and followed her into the tunnel of light. The air grew colder, and the faint hum of energy filled their ears. Bioluminescent creatures floated through the water around them like living stars lighting their way. After what felt like hours, the tunnel opened into a massive underwater cavern. In the center stood the Elysium beacon, a colossal tower of crystal and steel, covered in human letters long faded by time. The top glowed faintly like a sleeping giant waiting to wake. Eli whispered, It's real. Lyra stepped forward slowly. She said the beacon remembers voices. If I speak from my heart, it will answer. Eli nodded, his throat dry. Then speak, Lyra. The universe is listening. Lyra placed her hands on the crystal surface. Her eyes began to shine and her voice filled the chamber. not loud but strong, echoing through both air and water. To the people of Earth, this is Lyra of Valara. I am part of you and part of the world you forgot. Long ago, your people came here and built a bridge of memory, but fear broke it. My mother gave her life to open it again. The beacon pulsed brighter, waves of light rippling across the cavern. We are not your enemies. We are your reflection. We carry your courage, your dreams, your pain. It is time to come home, not as conquerors, but as family. The beacon erupted in a pillar of golden light that shot straight into the sky, piercing the clouds. Across Valara, towers answered with their own beams, forming a massive circle of energy visible even from orbit. Eli shielded his eyes. You did it. Lyra smiled through tears. No, we did. Above them, the stars shimmered, and one star blinked brighter than the rest. Eli's wrist device beeped suddenly. He glanced down, eyes widening in shock. Incoming signal! It's from the outer system. From Earth. Lyra gasped. They heard us? Eli nodded. The signal's strong. They're sending a reply. A soft human voice came through the static, trembling but clear. This is the Human Alliance Exploration Fleet. We received your transmission. Identify yourself. Lyra looked up, her heart pounding. I am Lyra, daughter of Mira of Valara. And of Earth. There was silence. Then the voice spoke again, softer now. We thought Valara was lost. We thought humanity was alone. But we hear you. Eli smiled, tears forming in his eyes. They understand. Lyra pressed the pendant against her heart. Mom, it worked. But suddenly the ground began to shake. The beacon flickered violently, energy surging out of control. Eli shouted, The system's overloading. Too much data, it's bridging both networks. Lyra grabbed his arm. If it collapses, the link will vanish again. He looked at her desperately. Then what do we do? Lyra took a deep breath. I'll hold the bridge. I can stabilize it. Eli's eyes widened. No, you'll burn out. Your body can't handle that kind of energy. She smiled softly. I'm not just a body anymore. I'm part of both worlds. Before he could stop her, she stepped into the beacon's light. The waves of energy wrapped around her like ribbons, lifting her into the air. Her eyes turned pure white. Eli shouted, Lyra! She looked down at him one last time, her voice calm and beautiful. Tell them that humans and Valarans were never meant to be apart. Tell them the bridge stands forever. The light consumed her. The entire ocean blazed with gold. Then a silence. When Eli woke, he was lying on the beach. The storm was gone, the sky clear. The beacon's light still shone faintly on the horizon. He looked at the pendant beside him. It was cracked, but still warm. A faint voice whispered from it. Don't be sad, Eli, I'm with them now. Both of them. Eli smiled sadly. You did it, kid. He stood watching the sunrise. For the first time in history, the blue planet Earth shimmered in Valara's morning sky. Bright and visible, connected by a thin beam of golden light. The bridge was real. The future had begun.